Колеги, всіх вітаю сьогодні на презентації третього випуску нашого моніторингу відбудови та відновлення
Colleagues, we
країни.
greet you on the presentation of the third session on the recovery of Ukraine, and our special topic today is demining.
Подія проводиться із
This event is conducted with simultaneous translation.
Icon on the bottom of your screen in Zoom. Запис події також буде доступний, він буде на Facebook-сторінці Big Recovery Portal і також на цій сторінці, а також на сторінках учасників.
The record of this event will be put on the Recovery Portal Facebook page, and first two sessions of this monitoring will already publish there, and the same way will be with this one. Here we are. This project is financed by EU within the scope of the control of expenses for recovery, and together with number of CSOs who are members of the RISE coalition. Maria Repko, me, I will be the moderator, and today at our event will present the monitoring Alexander Badli, senior expert of Institute of Economical Research. Special topic, demining in Ukraine, will be presented by Marietta Milina, economist of the Center of Economic Strategies, and also we invited very interesting participants, Deputy Minister of Economy, Mr. Igor Beskoyrvainik, Mikhailo Rizak, Director of Cooperation with State Authority, Mr. Mikhailo Rizak, and Jan Artykhov from Demining of Ukraine. I will be the moderator of today's event, and please, all your questions and comments, leave in the Q&A menu. You can use also chat, but I would prefer that participants use the Q&A menu. Let's start from the monitoring of restoring Ukraine. Event number 3. Greetings to everyone. I will try to be as brief as possible because we have very important topic, and it's because without demining on certain territories, we will not be able to start recovery and rebuilding of Ukraine. With regards to changes to the legislation that happened and that are expected in relation to the recovery, first is methodological recommendations on the prioritizations of project. Ministry of Recovery already issued order on this, and these recommendations were provisioned by the resolution of the Cabinet Minister 118, and I will dive deeper into it a little bit later. We're expecting a draft law on rebuilding and recovery, and we have a working group that is working together with the public sector, drafting this law. What's most important in this law, it will define main timelines for recovery and rebuilding, and it will define key stakeholders and key territories for areas for rebuilding, and it will introduce a unified platform for the funding allocated for the recovery, and the idea is for all projects to be present on that platform. And our opinion on this draft law, that we have to prioritize the transparency and openness of the use of the funds that were allocated for rebuilding, and we will maximally involve local authorities into deciding on what they should be spent. These all approaches should be used in this draft law. When we talk about the methodology of prioritization of methodological recommendations, as they are called on paper, it's very good that these recommendations are in place. The drawback that I see that according to Resolution 118, it is a recommended procedure for prioritization. So currently funds that have been allocated, that shouldn't be prioritized according to this methodology, only recommended. And another drawback is that it's and what is positive about this project is that there is developed the number of KPIs, and the number of points is allocated according to these KPIs. And on this slide, we can see the list of the criteria. When we calculate prioritization, there are two indexes: social, ecological, and financial economical index. It has a number of subcategories, and for any of them, you can answer yes or no. And based on these criteria, we allocate relevant amount of points, and that's how you calculate the indexation. I would say that certain indexes, they are more related to investment project rather than to recovery and rebuilding projects. But this methodology was developed together with RISE experts, and some changes were adopted or some not, but at least we have already a document in place that can be discussed whether we need to change anything in further editions. When last time we were presenting our monitoring results, we received the estimation of the general amount of losses after the blowing up of Kakhovka Dam. We see that the total amount of losses is 11 billion. And these are funds that were not part of the RDNA, that was prepared in February last year. Now the World Bank and together with the government are preparing next evaluation of the requirements in financing, and these figures will also be added. We talk about 620 square kilometers being underwater. It influenced 100,000 persons. It caused requirement in new water piping, and so the amount of funds that are required to build a new water piping lane, it's approximately 13 million hryvnia. And the funds for recovery, they will be allocated from the special fund of Cabinet of Ministers. The funds come in there from numerous loans and grants from international institutions. In the annex to this document, we see exact list of fund sources. Partially money will be spent by the Ministry of Recovery, and partially these were subventions to the local governments. That's why local government's role will be also important. These were projects. The projects will be submitted by the local self-government institutions, and we have World Bank programs. And we have already in place an agreement between Ukraine and JICA. Development Agency of Japan, and they will allocate another 18 million hryvnia for development. If we will be able to spend 12.4 billion hryvnias that are allocated in a budget, and in order for there is what importance of local governments in selecting most important project. We need to inform population about the recovery programs. We need to involve a public sector and communities into participation, because not all communities are capable to draft the recovery programs, because from presence of the recovery program will be a must to receive funding, and this is where we can help. And when we talk about the e-recovery program, the compensation already started being provided. So the already 1.8 billion hryvnias were allocated to 23,000 and plus families. Not all people know how to submit application for receiving compensation for damaged property. So mostly these applications are done by the service centers, and this creates an additional high load on their work. However, this can be done through the DIA application. And so there are some complaints about the register of damaged property with regards to the goods and services provided by businesses within the e-recovery program. And we face the situation not in every community there is sufficient number of the subcontractors, and that's why we see sometimes increase in building material prices. That's why it's important for the local self-government authorities to find their ways to bring in more partners into the territorial communities, and to bring in more service providers. We also have complaints from people who applied for this program that not all materials are present in the list of the building materials that are eligible for refund. Another positive news from me is that yesterday DREAM launched the public model of analytics, and this will be important source on the recovery projects. We know that it contains not complete list of projects on recovery, but we will start filling it up to most of our effort. We have seen the projects that are financed by the European Investment Bank, and this tool will be very important for us to understand where, who, and what is financing. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Alexandra, for your update. I think that our next monitor that we will be publicizing in December will include analytics of data from the DREAM platform. We were waiting for launch of that platform. And now I pass the floor to Maria Tomilina, economist of the Center of Economic Strategies, and she was studying topic on demining, who is doing in this demining sector, and then we will continue this topic by discussion with our panelists. Masha, please. Greetings. I hope you can see me and you can see the screen. With regards to demining, according to preliminary estimates, approximately 174,000 square kilometers of territory of Ukraine, almost 30% are potentially contaminated with mine and explosive hazards. I want to stress it's potentially. According to the Halo Trust, only 2 to 10% of land is in fact had been mined or contaminated. So only 5 to 10% of the potentially contaminated lands will require NTS, and 2 to 5 will require manual demining. That's why we don't know for sure what scope amount of territory of Ukraine is actually mined, because we don't have a detailed map of hostilities we don't have a detailed list of the types of the explosives hazards that had been discovered, and and uh, to identify them, for example, from satellites. And there is we don't see uh, with kinds of technical problems and challenges we need to think about number of type of mechanical assets that are needed, and also how we will conduct this demining. Also, we haven't calculated yet what our financial needs, and what shall be the coordination of the international organization and donors in terms of define the needs for financing. And usually these figures are taken from the historical data, but they are not taking into account the specifics of Ukraine and the level of contamination in Ukraine. And also we see overregulation of this area of activities. If we look at the quantity of potentially polluted territories, the agricultural lands is approximately 50,000 square kilometers. It's more than area of Slovakia, and more than 4.7 thousand square kilometers require uh, NTS and demining, and approximately 1.8 thousand square kilometers were returned to economical turnover. As of November 13, according to the State Special Transport Service, they already surveyed 37.7 thousand hectares of territory of Ukraine, and they cleared 84,000 explosive hazards, 2.2 thousand kilometers of railway, more than 700 kilometers of highways, 320 kilometers of electric lines and grids, and 90.5 hectares of forests. And I want to draw attention to the term humanitarian demining. We talk about the clearance of the areas and structures from dangerous objects. We talk about clearance from landmines, bombs, UXOs, and humanitarian demining is not only about the security and safety for people to return to their homes. It's a new stage for economical development of the country. According to the estimation, the cost of the demining will comprise 38 billion USD for next 10 years. And looking at the available resources that Ukraine has, and taking into account the maximum estimated territory of contamination, this process can take up to 700 years, but the real situation might be different. The estimated cost of demining per hectare is now in range from 1,000 to 80,000 USD. And using modern technologies, we can expedite these procedures because it's important to demine agricultural lands as fast as possible, because we are losing 1 billion USD per year. And use of the special tools developed in Croatia together with UNDP and using AI, was enabled to conduct land release for more than 5,000 square kilometers of lands. As of October 20, October 23, the government already involved 537 million USD for demining, and we also number of uh,
in Ukraine we have a couple of bodies involved, and the major one is the national body on for mine clearance activity, and also the ministries and departments, local governments and authorities, and other bodies involved in mine clearance activities. And on the website of the national body of mine clearance activity, you can find more detailed information. The Ministry of Economy participates in the part of humanitarian mine clearance. It participates and works upon development the capacities of the state institutions, and works on engagement of the NGOs and business to mine clearance activity. Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Defense cooperate to provide certificates on certifying the local enterprises to build the mine clearance industry, especially helping to provide special mechanical means for mine clearance. And other structures also participate, the armed forces, emergency service, and many other services of Ukraine. If we speak right now, we have 29 vehicles for mechanical robotized mine clearance provided to the state services, most of them provided by the international, by different foreign governments and donors, starting from 600,000 till 1.5 million euro. This is the price for the mining vehicle. And if we speak about these numbers, we speak about 5 hectares per shift. This is the productivity for the mining for some vehicle of some particular model. And if we speak about 140,000 euro, this is the estimated price for first produced in Ukraine vehicle for the mining that was received by the emergency service. And the miners have already started educational, participating in educational activity, and also the first demining. Watercraft is also now in the process of building, and we plan to have 15 such water vessels, and every day more than 3,000 sappers working in fields, more than 1,000 representatives of and representatives of mine clearance, and about 2,000 representatives of the bodies or authorities of government, just like emergency service, etc. And here you can see our technical for the next 10 years, and the representatives of the emergency services have suggested and have proposed such a list of the vehicles required for mine clearance for Ukraine, and we need about 60 exploitation pyrotechnical vehicles, 180 pyrotechnical vehicles, heavy ones, 117 pyrotechnical vehicles, light ones, robotized complexes for demining, and many others. And before this, I would like to, as I have mentioned, I would like also to mention that there are also bodies and institutions that deal with mine clearance, but they are not the only ones in Ukraine. 18 operators of mine clearance activity are certified. 30 of them are in the process of receiving the certificates. The key players are the operators that work by means of the donors. For example, the Halo Trust, Swiss representatives, IDG, the Mining Solution, the European Council for Refugees, many other operators just like Patron Demining, Group Nibulon, Oberon Service, etc. And the mining services are provided by this. The services for demining are provided by the certified organs, enterprises, entities, etc. And here we can speak about the mine clearance center of the State Special Legal Services in Chernihiv, Interregional Center of Humanitarian Demining of the State Emergency Service in the city of Merefa, and the Center for Demining of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Kam'янets-Podilsky city. And here we can speak about different types of certificates. And we can say that this is the first center of mine clearance. It provides the certificates to everyone, centers available in Ukraine. Here we speak about technical maintenance, mine clearance, the hostility areas using different vehicles and mechanisms. And the Interregional Center for Humanitarian mining clearance deals with only 5 of those operators, not 7, and they deal with 5 points of the certificate, and they provide the certificates that work in different regions. So here we have the segregation by the regions of or areas of activity. And certificate, when provided the certificates, the following points are important. Is one of them is to follow the standards of international standards and the European standards for mine clearance. What is humanitarian demining? The main milestones. First of all, we need to make the survey of the territory, examine the territory by drones predominantly to identify explosive objects on and under the land, in the soil, and on the surface. Then, next step is to get the data, and this data is transferred and processed by the software, special software, and then some particular zones, areas are highlighted, they are marked, and they are mapped on the special map, they are marked, and that's when the demining mine clearance work can be started. And the fields for mine clearance are selected not just like we first come, first served, but we have special priority. What are the criteria for such prioritization? The offers of the local governmental bodies and also the priorities by the state governmental bodies. First, we speak first priority critical infrastructure. So to have interaction between different areas, for example, to deal with the roads, then having critical infrastructure, we can deal with the roads, we can deal with the gas supply network, water supply network, etc. The next priority is the security of people, places of the high density of the people for them to receive medical services, etc. And the final priority, economical reasoning. And the mine clearance, how important it is for the market environment, for example. There should be the special registry, and also there will be some loans, special loans for people to work upon clearance, mine clearance, and it will depend on the economy reasoning and efficiency, and definitely according to those mentioned priority rules. First of all, these are the lands that the farmers believe to be the priority that they would like to plow, first of all. And the central government cannot always understand what territory after mine clearance can be used and which territory was abandoned before the West hostilities. That is why the local bodies are to participate in this process of selection of which landlord to be first one for mine clearance. The Ministry of Economy highlighted that mine clearance assistance can be received only by those agrarian sector representatives and only those who pay taxes and are officially registered. So the cabinet minister is to approve the mechanism how this payment to be provided to the mine clearance operators. And the rate, the percentage rate that is to be covered by the state support is to be also defined yet. And as soon as this loan system is launched, we know that during the tenders, the company that is ready to work with the lowest price. But if we speak about humanitarian demand, price is not to be crucial, but the quality is to be crucial, because the company dealing with the mine might have better equipment, specialists, and consequently, the mining of 1 square kilometer can be more expensive, what makes this company less competitive. That is why we need to find tools to write everything, all the technical requests we should write carefully in tenders, so and to take into consideration not only the price but the quality as well. And we had a news a couple of days ago, special loans for demining, affordable loans from Hasbank, uh, and this is the support by the bank to the agrarians for them to be able to use the services of operators, the mine clearance operators, those professional ones, and come back to uh, plowing the land. And many times I have mentioned the opportunities, possibilities of the modern technologies. We are part of this. We should mention this, it's a very important. The Ministry of Economy has already built the comprehensive strategy for the management of humanitarian mine clearance for Ukraine, which is data-oriented. Data-oriented approach. Ameri American company specializes on analyzing data. Palantir and it could be very helpful. And with the help of this, we can process a huge assets of data to understand the needs, to define the priorities, to understand what resources we are to involve for us to demine as fast as possible. And we this way can also use the AI to analyze the data about the potentially mined territories, combining the data from different resources, for example, about the social district facilities, critical infrastructure, etc. And this way we can suggest the priority territories and means for mine clearance. This how we can improve the approach to demining processes. And now I would like us to pay attention to the following. As the demining is not the solution to all of the problems we are facing right now. We face the craters, technical vermin, the contamination, uh, the soils, the black soils is now has in some areas lost its quality, and sometimes clearing those areas and recultivation of those areas might cost hundreds of millions of dollars. And after the hostilities, we can see the results. To the left, you can see the pictures, a near zoom before and after the hostilities. To the right, you can see that in France, 100 years after World War One. Company AgroGeneration had to stop using 30,000 hectares of land lots in Kharkiv Oblast as they are now right now not appropriate for agriculture activity because of contamination and different damages. And that is why the losses and the damages now cost about $1.7 thousand per hectare, about $50 million for those areas, total area. Unfortunately, we're going to face it for a long time. But all of the territory that is supposed to be deoccupied and demined, not all of the territory can be used in agriculture sector anymore. And at this stage, I would like us to make the following summary. We need new technologies for us to provide a mine clearance as quick as possible for this not to take thousands of years. And I could suggest you some numbers as for the speed of mine clearance. For example, if we speak about mine clearance in Bosnia and Herzegovina, since 1996, about 3,000 square kilometers are cleared, and 0.9 thousand kilometers is planned to be cleared by 2030. And the estimation as for 1996, 13,000 square kilometers were mined, and now they continue doing this. For example, in Croatia, 13,000 square kilometers, and they continue demining. 2.5 thousand kilometers demined in Cambodia, almost for 30 years, 2.2 square kilometers demined in 2022 in Kosovo, 7,000 square kilometers of controlled territories on Donbass since 2015 require demining. 4.14 square kilometers was cleared. And in Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, that were Ukraine controlled since 2014. 10,000 square kilometers is the area to be cleared, and only 14,414 square kilometers are to be cleared, and some areas are mined again. So let's go to key recommendations. After this overview, we can make the following summary as well. We need to focus upon the following to invest into analysis of the scale of mined area. We should define what area to be demined first of all, the number of equipment and specialists required, and the financial resources for this. And we should accelerate our advocacy on the EU level and on the international level. And in different countries, we should cooperate to understand what equipment and devices and vehicle are available, what specialists are available. If we speak about mine clearing, and we should speak about new technologies available and the regulation of the mine clearings, because we should understand and involve not only the international organizations, but we should facilitate for the Ukrainian private companies to participate more, and for them to be more engaged into mine clearance activity. Uh, because the greater the competitiveness, it might cause a quicker speed for a mine demining processes, and it could reduce the costs. Now I would like to give it back to moderator. Thank you, Maria. Really interesting presentation. But as those people analyze, and we can only observe and monitor what we can see in the open resources. That is why we have invited people to our discussion who deal with mine clearance directly in the fields, for whom this is urgent, very much required. And today we have the participants of our meeting: Igor Baskaravany, the Deputy Minister of Economy of Ukraine; Mikhail Rizak, the Director on Cooperation with the Governments; Nibulun Yan Artyakov, the representative of the company Demining of Ukraine. And my first two questions would be to Igor Baskaravany. Could you tell us, we've heard about the governmental initiatives that right now are being deployed in Ukraine, take into consideration such huge areas of potential contamination. This is my first question. My second question about the regulation and access of private Ukrainian companies and other initiatives to this market. What do you plan to do with this? Thank you so much. It's over to you.
Thank you very much. The previous speakers told so many information to us, but so in reply to your questions, I will start from the second one because it will lead to the to answer to the first one. Many people use term humanitarian demining. Now I'm using term demining for civilian needs because humanitarian demining, it's very defined term, but in our realities, certain areas can be demined, cleared, and then contaminated again. And so Ukrainian reality is not 100% fit into the definition of the internationally accepted term of the humanitarian demining. So like SESU or Ministry of Defense, they are not classical participants in humanitarian of activities in humanitarian demining. So like, but they are most but we use now more term demining for civilian needs. It means that this is demining not on the front line, and its aim is to return return areas to civil life. In order to deregulate something, we have to regulate something, but initially, but currently we see lack of regulation because we have very like framework law on demining, So, but it's very general. It doesn't tell how the miner should actually perform his work, and that's very good thing because uh, only by and then only using lower level regulations we can uh, regulate uh, very very peculiar relations between the society actors. But so because it and actually, but on the other side, because it's a framework law and there's some things were not taken into consideration because it was approved in a hurry. For example, we have definition a specialist on humanitarian demining. Yes, some roughly. So the key issue is the specialist. So and then we face absence of regulations in of professions classification. So, for example, there is a term sapper. It's a military profession uh, within MOD or CESU, and so in civilian as in so in civilian application, we don't have uh, such a profession. But then when we say specialist, it means that it's a person with a higher education. But we don't need people with higher education to work in the fields. Yes, and that's number one. And in the law, that the program of uh, mine action program should be approved by the uh, parliament, but after a thorough survey, we understood that this document is not existent in Ukrainian legislation, and but even there are some other issues with the loopholes in this law. But key thing that I want to say now is that we lacking division of responsibilities in, for example, on who what should be done for the demining operator, what criteria should be complied in order to issue certificates. Yes, different processes require different procedures. These certification is done by three organizations, Chernihiv, Merefa, and Kamenets-Podilsky. Every center has slightly different procedure. And the essence is that a particular company that wants to become a operator, demining operator, they should go to each of these centers, learn to where they should apply, what set of documents they should prepare, and of this, it all leads to lack of transparency and ambiguities. Another issue that lays that is not clarified. So that is when it's LLC that is intended to use commercially, then this certification is not a. This is something they should pay for, but for the NGOs are not should not pay for this certification process. So so our idea is the following: to regulate these relations, but not over-regulate them, to make them clear, transparent, and available publicly. We will try to develop all these regulations in both in Ukrainian and English, and every company from abroad that is coming here and want to work in demining, they start first of all they start from translating all regulations into English. Yeah, we are on the final stage of developing the procedure of certification of the demining operator. This will be unified standard procedure that will define who, what, and when should do in order to become operator of mine action operator. This will be the first step to create the market of services in demining. Our next step that we plan to do next year is this step is aimed to achieve number of strategic goals. One of them is to stimulate the development of the mine action activities market based on the program of release of agricultural land from contamination, mine contamination. The main task of this compensation program is to restart our economical development. We have a limited suggestion from the limited amount of the operators of demining operators. For example, at CESU certification authority, there is a queue of more than 30 operators. Most of them, they are LLCs, commercial companies, and we have a big demand for these services. We have limited supply of operators, and the other question that is being asked: who will pay for these activities? In order to build this relations and to regulate the pricing on the market. So if we, for example, we want to calculate what's the current price of demining per hectare, we don't have this such a clear calculation in Ukraine at the moment, and sometimes when we hear prices, they're too high, and maybe don't. You ask yourself whether it's worth to demine this land. So that's why we're working on pricing methods to set up and to be agreed between the operators, between the landowners and Ministry of Economy, who will be like marrying these interests. And so number one, we have to regulate, but not over-regulate this area to make procedure of certifications more transparent in order to boost the market. This is our initial list of tasks and they should give positive effect. And we are now finalizing a strategy on mine action. This is important strategic document, but it's very intangible. It defines where we're moving to, what are our priorities, but it's not very tangible for the end user. But that's why for end users, on one side, they will receive change in the procedure of certification, and on the other side, there will be a program of supporting agriculture manufacturers. Specialists love figures, and your last comment about strategy, do you have any estimation of how many hectares of cleared hectares, how many cleared hectares this strategy will foresee? Let's return to the figures that Ms. Maria mentioned, and what she said. We cannot forecast how much of territories will be cleared. We are moving very good base on technical survey of territories in Mykolaiv and Kherson Oblast, but the closer we are to the front lines, the more difficult that calculation can be. So like, and then, for example, we understand like this area of battle area is like will cost roughly, and it will take us that much time. For example, certain areas we consider contaminated, but we see that they clearly had been used for agriculture. So we have a big issue in information management now on the contaminated lands. So it makes things difficult that we are actively involved in war, because like we sometimes we are said you shouldn't look at that area and that's it. So like there are certain issues that create obstacles to create this unified information database. Yes, yeah, like the main task is to stitch together a huge amount of informations like data on from drones, data from the operators, data from the consumption of electricity, and understand like, for example, we have in one place a lot of population, but the satellites and uh, the map of battle action said that this territory is very contaminated, and so this is we define this area as a priority for clearance. Yes, and we have to calculate the resources that must be allocated to this area. But for example, we know that we have very productive soil that is very um, it should be returned to the land bank as soon as possible. But from other data, we know that nobody lives in that area, that this field was totally like plowed with artillery shells. We should analyze whether we can ever grow something on that land. That maybe we should like deprioritize this land. So the prioritization should be prioritization of clearance should be evidence based, because judging from one map only, it won't be productive. Hopefully, we will have more time for questions to Mr. Ihor. I want to pass the floor to Mikhailo Rizak, Director of Relations with State Authorities from Nibelon. I want to ask how things are going on with your company. You have a big land bank, you're a big agriculture manufacturer. Based on your data, we built our review for this month. Please comment one of the previous statements of Igor. Should we regulate the prices for the demining operators services, or market should decide on the pricing? Or are you comfortable with such method as a potential user of these services? Thank you for opportunity to speak. We are not only a user of the services, we will be a service provider. Based on that, I want to say a couple of words. Yes, we have issue of pricing for the land. Yes, and because Ukraine for a long time had no proper land market, but now the cost of land is quite low in Ukraine, and so this ratio of cost of demining to the cost of land sometimes it's it's cheaper to change the landowner comparing to clear the land. But we have to clearly define issue of demining and mapping. Mapping that like land release. So things that are done by services of non-technical survey. and thanks to the NTS, we released more than 4,000 square meters of land into economical use. So, of course, we need to use the drones, electromagnetic analyzers. Of course, it's much cheaper than demining. Demining will cost if costs a lot. So, so 600,000 thousand per demining machine. So the one demining machine costs roughly 1 million USD, and we should also take into consideration that in order for the machine not to remain at maintenance for a long time, so we need some spare tillers. So basically, the cost of one demining machine is roughly 1 million euro. Yes, we face the issue of regulation. It's more about practical application of the legislation. We see that the procedure, the accreditation process is quite lengthy. Like if we talk, if it's called certification of in the field of demining. So if we hire the professionals with extensive experience, so I think it's a classical issue of all licensing processes. So then you've been provided one list of commands, and the next list of commands. Yes, this is an issue that should be legislatively regulated. For example, the certification setup provides full list of the discrepancies that can be rectified in a certain period, and then to proceed with certification. Another issue I want to mention that not everyone says that from 174,000 square kilometers, so roughly of them 10% square kilometers, these are waterways, and that's about the boats that we mentioned. So like, unfortunately, waterways are not in priority, and now we see that landmines, they pop up in the even in Danube channels. That's why we should talk more about development of water demining. Yes, so our first boat, in order to register it, we calculated that Ukraine will need roughly 15 boats in order to actively, efficiently demine the waterways of Ukraine. And currently we do this with our own funds, not from the state, not from the donors. Now, state special transport service, they're considering that maybe they will buy one of these boats from the money of donors in order for them practically be able to start works in underwater demining. With regards to the regulating price for demining, I can say that such regulation can just stop development of the market. It will be less than actual cost of the works. So now we say that I already said that the current Ukrainian pricing for land is quite low. So we see the need in and we agreed the decision of Ministry of Economics to allocate 2 billion hryvnia for support of agriculture companies to subsidize demining expenses. So we hope these funds will be equally and allocated between each every companies.
And we would like to persistently address all of the donors helping us with money clearance. So we are grateful to Switzerland, to the USA and other countries, UN countries. Please direct your finances for humanitarian demining, for these finances to be used by the farmers of different scales to bring back the land to the economy, to the agrarian industry of Ukraine, to give the opportunities for the development of the security of the country. Thank you so much. Indeed, very interesting. And the follow-up question, Maria mentioned that there are many different evaluations about land mine clearance. Maybe you have some minimum, maximum numbers as for your experience, for example, for the territory, which is not potentially, but really mined. How much can it cost? How much might it cost to bring it back to exploitation? What is the range? Can you speak about this? It's very wide question. Even Maria in her report has mentioned that there are 7 areas of demining. So which area do you need the calculation for? And the second, very different areas, uh, different direction areas and ways of demining are used on different land lots. For example, 4,000 hectares land of 5,000 land bank of the cluster, and it was very shortly done in half a year. By what means? By means of mapping. It really helped us. So this what I'm talking about. The mining is like a vehicle, like a car. You can buy some Zaz car, Ukrainian one, or you can buy Mercedes, and it also depends on what you use, cheap van, sedan, or maybe Jeep, Land Rover, etc. It is the same here with the cars. So the maximum that we have, for example, in media, this the most maximum, for example, is the pollution is 100% every square meter, mined, explosions, manual demining, long-term process. So when in each square meter, we need to liquidate each explosive device. That is why we should take into consideration those even vehicles that we have purchased, DG or other vehicles. This is not the solution to all of the challenges because they are very expensive and you need to use it in complex. For example, in our vehicles, we have special video monitoring device. So just in case visually we can find some barriers or something, you just can stop, go back, and then we need to demand manually, and then this vehicle moves forward. So this is the complex solution, and it depends on the situation, and you need to find the solution to each particular situation. And demanding after the complete occupation of Ukraine, in fact, we cannot make any estimations because, as we know, there are a couple of lines of hostilities, of defense, and each line is mined in different way. We do not know this, and we do not know what should be the speed of counter-offensive, any other offensives. We're not aware of this, so it will also impact the situation. This is the complex question. About $1,000 if we speak about per hectare, if we speak about mine clearance, and I should believe that we should use international experience if these are the complex areas, $3-5 per 1 square meter. And I would like to quickly mention about what Mikhailo has mentioned. Many times I've seen 80 kopeka per some area of not mine or in a little mined areas. What total area do you mean? 1 square meter till 16,000 hryvnia per 1 square meter. If we speak, for example, about trenches, or probably this is some special field headquarter where hostilities took place. And what Mihailo has mentioned as well, I know some people who are serving right now, and they would show the maps, Russian maps, and their different levels of defense lines. And as for explosives, they would mention 16,000 tank mines, and this is the area of 10 kilometers. But we should say about some 5 kilometers to be cleared. So 5 kilometers to the second line, and here we speak about the area of 10 kilometers being in mines. So how long will it take us to clear, to do the mine clearance on each stage? So let's help our armed forces of Ukraine for us to do it as quickly as possible. And Yana Artykhova, I would like to represent her. Yana Artykhova, representative of demining of Ukraine. And what colleagues have mentioned, the problems of certification, etc. Do you agree that we should regulate, should not regulate? Have you ever experienced any problems with certification? What was your experience? Probably you could tell something about your ideas, what could be efficient, what should be used to demine Ukraine, both technically and by means of some approaches. Thank you so much, Jan. It's over to you. Good day, dear colleagues. I'm the representatives of the organization Demining of Ukraine, Jan Artykhov. Our foundation was established in May. We're a newly created organization that was established by people who had experience. For example, some people were served in military, and someone just like this area of work, demining, and people were interested. So we have developed our demining complex demining system vehicle, special vehicle. It was in Kaselivka village, probably. Mikhailo knows this area, 120 hectares area field. And with this, our complex system, this vehicle, we could demine this area. 50,000 hryvnia is the price of this vehicle, of this device. And the tractor can move on the demine area, and some 30 kilometers away, the special this our device moves. And we have special device to provide the examination, to monitor this, and people nearby can see whether there are any mines or the explosive hazards, etc. And those fields are right now full of different grasses, plants, etc. That is why we cannot do it visually. And by our experience, we could master this situation. And 50,000 hryvnia is the price of this our device. 120 hectares in 14 days. This was the area where the Russian army was on this field. It was their defense area. The huge amount of vehicles and equipment, more than 5 anti-vehicle belts areas, and the huge amount of equipment being destroyed. We had to take it away from the field, and we were trying. We're not certified to make the explosives, and we would wanted the land to stay eco-friendly, for this land to be as fertile as it's possible. So we were trying to take out all of the explosive, and after the tractor could move on this field, and we also needed to deal with the craters after the explosions. And as for now, this is the land being cropped with the winter crops. So in the spring we're going to have to yield the first crop. The first harvest is supposed to be in spring, so now it can be totally used in agriculture. So it was also our research job as well. We also gathered the experience of militaries as well, and I believe that it worked in a really great way. We do have some questions, for example, certifying our device, our vehicle, and we needed to communicate with Sedenko, and we had to share some contact data. We had to organize different conferences, and we exchange the information with different producers of such vehicles, devices, and we would like also to certify our own invention this way. So in case you have any questions, you're welcome to ask. I would like to add just a couple of words about Jan's team. We did not agree that we're going to participate in this event together, and I was really surprised to see Jan as a participant of this. I do support them and worry about them at the same time because they are very courageous and love extreme. And as for this device and certification, the project draft law of the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers, which is going to be the technical regiment on how to certify different mechanical vehicles for mine clearance. Because as for today, we do not have such technical regiment. We do not have such products in our legislation. What is a mine clearance vehicle? We had to make the legislative framework. We have never thought about this, that it's important, that we should need this, that we need to have some tests, examinations, so that we need to register them somehow. That is why the draft law was launched for approval from different bodies and departments. And I believe that in the nearest future, we're going to have the regiment for you to be able to come to the research institute to test your vehicle, explode your car to see what is going to happen. Then you'll get the document that this is the vehicle. It just this and that. The result is this and that. And what is the percentage of the clearance of the area? Then we can get that result. And I believe after that you can get the certificate. And I believe this regiment can help and the Jan's team. And then we can speak about the certification and can speak about this vehicle to come to the final consumer. Before we have gone to that field, we're trying to work with Mavic, we're trying to test the work of our vehicle and our device. Indeed, there were 5 anti-tanks lines, and we had to deal with those explosives in that area, explosive hazards there. And we have tested, it works. It does not miss any mines. There was one hidden mine. It was plastic, dug 20 meters and 20 centimeters in depth. And there was the explosion of this mine. And these people, the vehicle was exploded. We didn't have the finances to do it remotely. And if everything worked according to the plan, we could change some spares of this vehicle that were exploded, and we could continue working. As the people did not suffer, and we could mention this to donors if they pay attention to this. So we can do this mine clearance activity with this vehicle. We can produce this device in Ukraine. It takes about 1 hour to fix some car in case something happens. And I believe this is the know-how. 50,000 hryvnia, this demining device that works very quickly. Another question is that, for example, here is the top of the tank, that lead, and it also takes some effort somehow to remove that part. Some of the mines are hidden, concealed. It also requires the work of some device, but the fact that the separ is also required. The vehicle does one part of the job, and the human is to do the other part of the job. So the eyes of the separ are also required, meaning different devices that could serve as the eyes of the remote eyes of the separ. So we have that algorithm. For example, in Kharkiv, we use the magnetometer. We could define the mines. As for speaking about plastic, it does not work as it works with the magnets, but everything hidden in land, we could define this. So we can write down this algorithm. It will be a huge step forward to find those hidden mines. And our major task is mine clearance of the agricultural lands. And we, in fact, made the final products. We've entered that field and we worked, and now this field can be used in agriculture, so you can sow your crops. And also they were the craters after explosions, after missile hits. Now we are looking forward to find donors to provide us with a tractor. So for us to work remotely, for the equipment to be involved into this. For example, we can notice something with the camera, and then a sapper can be called and to go to work into the field and to manually work something. Then we deal with this explosive hazard, work with this, and then we move forward in with the same algorithm. We try not to let those mines explode, but for example, hexogen, if it stays in soil, it's very poisonous. So it's very dangerous. For example, our international partners would come to us, would examine our wheat and say, hey, your wheat is hazardous, poisonous. We do not want this to happen. And that is why we also require special vehicles that can help us to avoid exploding those explosive hazards. So I believe it could be very helpful. For example, if some explosions in the land, some 20 centimeters in diameter, or sometimes it's 20 meters, the soil is poisonous from the same percent of explosion. It depends. And indeed, really complicated question. We still have 12 minutes, 2 minutes. I will ask you some questions. Then I'll ask the questions from the trustee participants. My two questions to you. That area you demined in the village, is it legally bring back registered as the agricultural land? Was it somehow evaluated, examined, tested, and certified that this is back to the agriculture? What documents did you need? And my second question to all of the participants, traditionally we try to evaluate financial resources. How much do we need? What was the price for you to flatten the land? Can you give your evaluations of your efforts? What steps it took? Meaning to make the land flat and even. If we speak about craters, after demining, we have cleared the land and we let the tractor with these special plows, and that was plowing the land and was flattening this land. So this field was plowed and it was totally flat and even, just the way it was before all the hostilities. And this is the first. The second, about certifying this field. We didn't have the certificate. We have provided the research job. And I believe that on some artificial land, we cannot do it, this on special artificial field that was specially allocated for such tests. But here we speak about the natural area, that there is full of different pollutants on this field, parts of the tanks, parts of some transporters, and this is a very important thing. And as colleagues have mentioned, you go to the real life field, you come, you can see a sunflower growing, then you can see how to work in this case. And the Norwegian People's Help also would come to us. They also deal with technical survey. We would communicate with them. They would give us, they know those fields. And for example, we came to the field, and on this field, they would tell us what to do. And they could have examined and said, if you are interested in this, please you deal yourself. We are not a part of this, but we had no right to give it back to the agricultural use. So we had to do it ourselves, that mine clearance activity, and it was our scientific experiment. As for flattening the field, can you give your evaluation?
As I see it, maybe it's a very rough calculation. I would say that our system, so like on the tractor, you can put the magnetron sensor, and at the back of the tractor we put the cultivator equipment, so like it will be simultaneous process. If you have a very big hole, it means that you need to go like 5-6 times to level that
Дякую, Яне. Дуже дякую. Ігор
hole.
хоче
Thank you, Jan.
Я перепрошую.
I see Igor wants to comment, and then very quickly, when I mentioned that nothing is regulated and that's a problem, this is the very bright example. After the mine action operator cleared certain land, there will be quality assurance process. Someone should come and check both how the works are conducted and the quality of conducted works. And after the quality assurance, certain certificate is issued that proves that this land is safe, and if something happens after that, government of Ukraine is responsible. With the quality assurance, we have a bottleneck because who, how, and what result should be achieved during the quality assurance, and what document should regulate that process. We have general understanding that there should be such document, but what procedures should be conducted during this quality assurance? This all is not regulated. It's good that this process is not regulated, but the bad side is that we have no clear procedures how to do this. With regards to leveling of the ground, the issue is in the following: that not always leveling the ground means return of functionality of the field, because like when soil is moved violently, it means maybe we change the fertile properties of that land or field, and it will mean that in certain spaces nothing will grow on those spots that were leveled with bottom soil. That's why there will be research conducted on how to properly recultivate these bomb holes. And another issue will be what to do with the chemicals and metal shrapnels that is left on that ground, or what maybe what crops can be grown on those land for them be able to used in industries and used for export. So a lot of issues will arise after we physically cleared the field. So this is an issue of prioritization. Before that, if we properly understood what we will do with this landlord after we cleared it, then this is the way how to make decision on whether it's worth clearing it and whether it should be cleared in the priority level. So this is like what we need to do together with all different stakeholders, Ministry of Ecology. So like I see this question in the chat: who is in Ukraine is managing process of demining? This is like a issue of many stakeholders. Ministry of Defense, that is main actor. Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Reintegration, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Ecology. All these ministries are involved, and to a certain degree they're working on those issues, because the war, it's a matter of war, and war it's a problem of all institutions, including public public sector. And mine pollution, it's an aftermath of the war, and that it also involves most of stakeholders. Thank you, Igor, for your comment. Every time I want to return to the slide, Maria's slide, where she wrote about the recommendations about the need in extending the knowledge base. Maybe in certain countries, there were some research conducted maybe 20, 30 years ago, and now, yes, all uh, all major players in demining are now in Ukraine, and now they say that they say like, guys, we don't know what to do with you. Nothing like this happened in the world before. Another question from Igor Styrchak, quite logical question to do we have centers, hubs on R&D for, do we have incubators that will promote innovational solutions? We've heard from Jan, one of those R&D companies. Do we plan to create knowledge exchange hubs, incubators, accelerators? Yes, we have such an idea. We think how to do it properly, how to involve universities in that process, because we need universities, young scientists, young brains, and besides things that we are thinking only, we uh, there is an initiative Pro in One, and if we talk about demining for military purposes, things that are applied there also can be applied in civilian demining. Yeah, so not always civilian demining procedures can be used on the front line. So this incubator and that shares knowledges, contacts, information, and they can provide grants for up to 25,000 for an idea, concept, or the prototype. Next year, they will raise the bar up to 100,000 USD. This is something that is in place already. We have our constant partner, UNDV, DP. The first stage, when we tested drones that are scanning lands, we had 10 teams. We achieved certain result, not exactly what we were expecting. And next spring, we will do another large-scale testing. We won't bring in as many developers as possible to the training area, like previously mined, prepared, and see what technologies can achieve on and what they can prove. There is another initiative. If I will share it later in the chat. Thank you, Mikhailo. What's happening with Nibelung? Do you plan to do some research hub for agricultural companies? Maybe you've heard about such initiatives. I haven't heard about such initiatives. I would say that all certified tools that can be allowed to use in demining, we as an agriculture company are ready to utilize them in our practical activities. I see Alexander Vorontsov is working on SOPs for underwater demining. They invite colleagues to join in R&D of those issues. If you need contacts, please share your emails to organizers, and your requests and questions we will pass to the participants of today's discussion, and they will take further actions. I see a lot of questions from the chat had been answered already. For example, on the methodology of prioritization. Many other questions we discussed during our panel discussion, and then we will go with the final words from our participants. I want to raise another issue on underwater demining. I think this is one of the areas where the shipbuilding industry can be an exporter. We urge all operators, demining operators who are working in other countries to come to Ukraine and demine water waves. We understand because Mykolaiv waterway is blocked. We offer them to build their equipment and tools in Ukraine, and this is and they can use these platforms both in Ukraine and around the world. Yes, I agree, because Ukraine has quite powerful shipbuilding industry. Igor, maybe your last word, anything to add? I will say about the technologies. And technologies, this is something that we prioritize, and because it's not option to wait to spend 700 years for demining. So we will need to use modern solutions. If we don't have those solutions, we should invent them. And even crazy ideas, we try to study and want to find if anyhow they can be useful. Any ideas are welcomed. Please contact us. We consider everything. Sometimes we don't reply, but we definitely read all your messages. So, and I wish patience to all of us, because that's a long-term project. Yes, patience to all of us, and let's hope for the fastest victory. Thank you for participation in this event. On behalf of the Center of Economical Strategies, this project is funded by EU and in consortium of CSO Technologies of Progress. And I want to urge everyone to donate to Leleka Volunteer Fund. That most probably they, and maybe you want victory to all of you. Have a safe night. Good evening.